Hi, I'm Dom Hind, and fuck, I'm nearly 50. Well, nearly 47, but I'm starting the countdown to 50 now so that I can make the most of it. 1 minute I was in my 20s, hustling, building a career, working, running, working way too much. And now I'm staring down the barrel of 50, wondering where the time went, why my body creaks when I get out of bed, and am I actually living my all? Which is why I'm doing this. Fuck, I'm Nearly 50 isn't just a podcast. It's a midlife check-in. It's a reality check and also a celebration to make sure that I am living my all. It's about sharing those honest conversations about the big things: career, finance, friendships, relationships, purpose, and all the shit that I've collected along the way and whether I really need it. Here's the thing. This podcast isn't about chasing fame or building the biggest audience. It's about documenting the journey in real time. It's about sharing the conversation I'm having with my friends and making sure that we can all get to 50 on our terms. So over the next 36 months, I'm talking to some incredible guests, sharing their experiences, trying new things and questioning everything so that this journey can actually push us and make us grow. If you're wondering what's next or want to feel a little less alone in the madness of midlife, then you're in the right spot. So let's do this because fuck, I'm nearly 50 and isn't it amazing? My very first guest is someone who is not only ridiculously talented, but also one of my absolute favourites, Justine Armour.
Hi, Dom.
Hi, Dom.
Thanks for having me. Guest number one. What an honour.
So good. And to say we go way back is actually an understatement. Yes. Justine and I have shared a lifetime of adventure, of laughter, and the kind of memories that you remember forever. She's not just a world-class creative and one of the most respected women in advertising. She's also our lodger.
The lodger.
The lodger. And every time Justine's back in town, she stays at our place, apart from now, which is very upsetting. Yeah. And it has affectionately earned her the nickname the lodger. And mornings in our house are not complete without Justin and I doing this to summons Justine for a cup of tea. And she knows exactly how we like it. Yeah. And we're very lucky because our friendship has taken us everywhere, like that unforgettable New Year's Eve holiday in Bangkok and Thailand.
Some good times.
We've crashed at her house in Portland when she first moved there, and we've shared way too many laughs and talked about way too many ads at Ant Café in Potts Point. And she was even there on the very first night that Justin and I officially got together. And she's been such a huge part of our life, from sharing all the wild stories about our families, both hers and mine, and all the adventures and the iconic moments that they all have together. The thing that even our kids love was watching your first big Super Bowl ad, which is very, good for this time right now, where even now they will get the Pringles can and wear it on their hand for way too long, like way too long.
Happy to be that influence.
Yeah, because it means they have to eat them. And I'm like, no. And, of course, throughout this podcast, we will call each other Dal. Yes, and that is our affectionate name for each other for, showing how we really do feel, but also showing our proud Queensland roots.
Yeah, I expect there's some accents that others won't have heard come out of us.
When we talk.
When we're not. Yeah, when we're we've got a special set of accents that we just reserve for each other.
Yeah, way too real and raw. And before we dive in, Justine, I would love you to introduce yourself but in a non-boring LinkedIn way, how would you actually introduce yourself to someone who has never met you?
I don't know. I would say I'm the eldest child. I'm a Virgo. I'm a year of the dragon. And I don't know if you know anything about those characters, what those things mean. I'm pretty like textbook versions of those things. I'm also an Enneagram 4, which if you know about the Enneagram, I'm a very textbook Enneagram 4. I don't know what else I've done a lot of like self-analysis.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I find it very hard to like introduce myself in a succinct way.
Okay, all right.
But I would say like if we're talking about being a leader, I would say I'm a heart-led leader.
Yeah.
I care about people. I care about my relationships with people. I care really about authenticity and how I'm able to show up in the world. I don't like being in any environment where I'm not being able to be myself. So, and I will leave that environment, whether it's a relationship or a job or a room. I find it very intolerable to me to be in an environment or a situation where I have to fake.
Yeah, you're definitely not very good at faking it.
No, and
which is funny in advertising.
Yeah. I know. Sorry, everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just to give people, what do you think your team would say are your strengths, just so that they can understand what an amazing person you are?
I would say they would say that I care a lot about them and about the work and about the environment that they're in, because I think that the energy of the place is what creates the ability for people to be authentic and feel safe to be coming up with the craziest ideas. So they, and that's the stuff we need. We don't need to be coming up with ideas that now an AI bot can do. Like you need to create true, deep, emotional, psychological safety for creative people to have great ideas.
But I also think that's true for anyone. You've just got to be authentic.
Absolutely.
And you've got to align with where your values sit and what you are actually doing. I think that's a big one. One of my big themes this year is alignment, because I do think sometimes we do get out of alignment with our values.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do think you are very authentic and you do live a very you life. Only you can do.
Yeah. And I've started to get really comfortable with being like unapologetic about it too.
Yeah.
So
you only get one life.
Yeah.
Like you have to be.
I think it was a long time though where I like really agonized about it and had sort of an internalized idea about what it should be, what it should look like. I got married really young, and then I got divorced really young, then I got married again, also really young, and divorced again. Because I was trying to fulfill a script that had been written inside me.
I also think at that point in time, you were a little bit of a people pleaser because you didn't know who you actually were.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's the people pleasing goes really deep. And so it comes out in different ways and different relationships, different jobs, but yeah, it's taken me, you're saying you're nearly 50. I'm 50 next year. Yeah. It has taken me almost this long to figure out who the one person I need to please. And that is myself.
And it's funny, isn't it? It takes you a long time to get to that point where you go, it actually only matters what I think and how I feel. And I'm the only one who can make me feel that way.
Yeah. I think also birth order matters. Like my parents, I'm the eldest child, and I got such a good child.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it with my brothers all the time. They had such different parents to me. Like they had a completely different experience of my parents than I did. And so it's really deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Being the eldest child, I 100% agree that we always get the hardest parents, and then everyone else gets the easier version.
Yeah. I forgive my parents. I even said it to my mum yesterday. I was here visiting my family, and I was like, the version of you, this is like, 27 mums ago. Like
Yeah.
she's had so many different versions of herself since
Since you
she
were
was
young.
a young mother.
Yeah.
That I don't hold any of it against them.
Yeah,
You
I think
know,
that's
they were just
a good thing.
trying it. That was the first pancake.
Okay. So
Yes.
today was a very big day for you, Justine.
That's a bit of a big day.
And very big news. You've just been announced as the global creative or chief creative officer at, I'm just going to say F&B.
You can say Forsman.
I can say
It's a Swedish founded agency.
Okay.
We'll just say Forsman, just for the sake of
Forsman. Okay. You've just been named global chief creative officer of Forsman. And it's a big role because it will see you moving potentially to London as well.
Yes. I'm really excited about it. This is, these big global creative jobs don't come along very often. And I was pretty happy in my little life in New York at my little independent place that I've been a partner at for the last couple of years. And this thing came along and I initially resisted it because I'm not, what am I talking about? I'm going to be in my late 40s. I'm going to uproot my great life that I've created for myself in New York City. I live on the Brooklyn Heights Promenade, looking out to the most incredible view of Lower Manhattan and the Statue of Liberty. And I'm like, I sit in my apartment and I'm like, I've fucking made it.
Yeah.
Like I have got it figured out. I nailed it. Like people come to New York and they never, like it destroys them. I felt like I have just like conquered my experience in New York.
Which you have. Like
truly, I feel
like, the girl from Brisbane
without,
you've done.
I've had it has conquered me at times. But
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was like, what am I talking about? Am I gonna go? I'm like I'm nearly 50. Yeah. Am I really going to uproot my life again and take another chapter in London, which I've probably, by the way, have never really wanted to go and live in.
Yeah.
Just to do this job. And I think the thing is like I had an idea that was in me that I shouldn't do that. I was kind of too old to do that, or there's something about my story that I'm steering it in the wrong direction.
By going?
Yeah. I just had this idea that I was like, it was crazy to uproot my life again after I've already done it so many times, and I'm happy. It's not like I'm running away from something, which I think is another really important point. I'm not running away from anything in myself or in New York or anything like that. I'm embracing another chapter in the story. And the company is incredible. The team that I've met, I haven't started. I don't start for another month and 2 months actually. But team seems great. I have a lot of respect for the company and I like the work that it's done over the course of the years. And so, I was just like, the very thing in me that's resisting taking another adventure is the reason why I should do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was the hardest decision in that whole, your thinking process to actually push you over the edge? Was it that you needed a change? Like, you were too comfortable and you thought, what
was the factor that helped?
Yeah, what was the factor?
Honestly, it came around right before the election in America.
Yes.
And, I felt pretty good. I'm Australian, so I don't vote. I still am on a visa. I'm not a citizen. And so, I don't really have a stake in the US election, but I was there through, the second time Obama was elected. I was jubilant. I was there through the sort of Trump first campaign, through his first presidency. It was not a good vibe. And it was truly, I don't know. I was watching and paying attention.
Yeah.
It was very painful to be there and to see all of these institutions be kind of pulled apart and to see people around me hurt by these policies and these kind of narratives that are going out there. So it was painful. And if you're a thinking, caring, feeling person, you can't, there's no way that you can't be devastated every day by the things that they are doing.
Yeah.
And so and also it's, you can't do anything about it. As a non-voter, I don't have any power. The only power I have in my happiness is to disengage. And so I made
or move.
Yeah, or move, and which is disengaging, So I made the decision at some point last year that because in the first Trump presidency, I was living, my partner, who I'm still very close to, my partner at the time, is very politically engaged. And so I knew everything that was going on, and I was very I had my high anxiety. Anxiety was up all the time about what was happening. And I just made a decision, sort of my self-care, my sort of emotional mental health, to not actually participate as much. But when you're there, it's impossible not to. It's impossible not to be in the cycle of the news, and it's designed to weigh you down. You're getting, just
bombarded
with terrible things that are happening to people that are lovely and that you care about. And so anyway, long story long, a job came around right as the election was coming up, and so I decided to just open the conversation up, because who knew if he was going to get in again? And I wasn't, I was mad at America. I'm mad at men.
Yeah.
I'm mad at America. And I was like, I'm ready to just have an option to get out of here if that happens. And then honestly, a great job materialized out of it. And I was like, now I want to do it. Regardless of if, the election went that way or not. I was excited to do it and to
get out.
Yeah, just explore expand my horizons.
So you have had such an incredible career, and we started as juniors together.
Yes.
In Clemenger proximity in Brisbane, and now we are nearly 50.
Oh, look, you're going to get more comfortable with saying that, I'm sure.
No, I'm not.
Really gross.
And your journey has been phenomenal. How have you managed to keep your creative spark alive throughout this period with everything that you have gone through?
Yeah. It's a really good question. I think I have realized that the creative experience is an embodied, somatic, physical experience. It's it's an energy that you cultivate in your body, right? And it goes away when you are being driven by fear, and it comes alive when you're being driven by inspiration or by love or by something that you're excited about. And so in everything I've had to really learn to cultivate an energy of positive, creative, I'm a seeking and openness, as and so part of it is physical, it's what you're doing with your body, it's movement, it's rest, it's getting out of fear-based narratives and making sure that I'm, even things that are, I just explained this political situation, I made a conscious decision to not allow that into my head. And I think as a creative person, you've got to be able to put it in its place, and be really intentional about appreciating and having gratitude and having something that is driving you forward and not driving you away,
But has that always been the case for you?
No, absolutely not. I think in COVID.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, I was 15 days into my job at Grey, New York. Huge, biggest job I've ever done. Massive job for me at the time. Excuse me. Massive job for me at the time. I knew it was going to be a big, hard job, and I had great people around me there who also knew that I was going to need a lot of support to be successful in it. So COVID came in. All of a sudden, where New York was a crazy, terrible place to be. Went home. Virus was all around us. Everyone's going to die. Running this, huge creative department at one of the biggest agencies in New York. Then we had, at Grey, there was a merger that WPP created between us and AKQA.
Yeah.
Then there was, somebody on the leadership team had a brain tumor that wasn't sharing that information. then there was, you know, I couldn't leave because I was on a visa, and there was so many things. Anyway, it just created a fear energy in me, I think, over time. Plus I didn't realize at the time that I was quite unwell.
Yeah.
And I was giving myself to the job so much that I was not available to what was going on in my physical body. So we'll get to that in a bit. But like I had become and was getting more and more unwell, and it was creating this like energy of desperation in me, which, by the way, everyone, when you're in leadership and when you have a team like that, everyone's looking at you and they're like powered by that energy, which is anxious, fearful, annoyed when it doesn't go the way that it needs to. Like, it's not curious.
No, it's not. It's like, not kind. It's not your usual
you don't have
kindness.
any capacity for things to go not how you expected.
And that is hard. That is hard. And it's hard also to get out of that headspace as well, unless you do make a drastic change like leave.
Yeah, or it happens to you, you know, you have like a breakdown.
You do, and then you have to reassess.
Yeah, and if you're lucky and if you've got the time and you've got the headspace to figure out what it's all about.
So being in that massive job at Grey, what was the biggest lesson that you learned about leadership?
I think it would be that thing that we are driven by either love or fear. Yeah. Everything that we do is driven by love or fear. And if you are a leader that can't relax into the challenges of it, you are going to be fearful. And so I think you get relaxed over time through having experience. But as a new leader, by the way, I was taken aback. I was only been maybe 10 years into being a creative director at that point. You know, I was 14 years a copywriter. And then all of a sudden I went to the 3% conference, and they were like, when I was at White & Kennedy, there was like 180 creatives, 26 creative directors, no women.
Wow.
There was an ECD who was a woman, Susan Hoffman. But then they were like, there were no women at that time in the creative. And I was the most senior woman, and there were 9 women in the creative department, and I was the most senior female creative. So I became a creative director. And then I was on this trajectory that was like, I was a CD there, and then I was a GCD at 72 and Sunny, and then 6 months later I was an ECD, like leading that office, and then 2.5 years later I was leading Grey New York.
Yeah.
So I was never in mastery. I was always learning. And so my energy as a leader was always, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm faking it till I make it. I'm leaning in because you told me to.
Yeah.
And I never got that relaxed energy around me. And I just kept taking these opportunities because they kept getting offered to me, and I didn't want to be crazy and not do them. But what it created was a leader who was running on fear.
Yeah.
And I've learned now that I can do it, and what my boundaries and my limits are. And I can honestly say I run on pretty good vibes.
Yeah. And I think that would be hard, going from like that anxious, am I actually doing the right thing? Because I mean, I know exactly what it's like. Even, you know, when I was young, leading all like 26 and having all those digital people around me trying to lead them, and no one had ever taught you how to lead or what you need to do.
You were pioneering it too. Like you were, I mean, that time in our industry, you were on the cutting edge of that like space.
Yeah. And being a female and in like digital was something that it's hard. And I look back even for myself and I go, God, I made some dumb decisions, and I wish I could take them back. But it was great for learning, because you go, I would never do that again. And I would actually have those hard conversations that I just didn't know how to have.
You're afraid to have them because you don't want to expose yourself as not knowing. And what I think the other thing that happens as you get older, you get so much more comfortable with being the most curious, not knowing person in the room. Yeah. And it is such a gift to everybody.
Oh, it is. Being able to ask a question and not feel like you have to have all the answers is the best.
So you're not afraid of being, you know, exposed as a fraud.
Yeah.
You don't know. Which is, for your young leadership, you're always afraid of that.
So we did touch on it
Yes.
about your health challenges.
Oh, yes.
How has that shifted your perspective in what is actually really important in life and work and everything that you do?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I learned something that everybody else knew before me, which is if you don't have your own sort of energy in your body working, you can't really be there for everybody else,
Yeah.
you know, as a leader,
Yeah.
you know. And I think I just always, it's an Aussie thing, like she'll be right. Like I just always, whatever was going on with me, I just feel like I ran this body like an old Toyota. Like it was like the lights were going on and I was like, it's fine. You know, there's siren, there's like blinking shit and there's like so many warning signs and I'm like, it's fine. I'll be fine. I'll get to the next stop. And I just truly, I've learned that you know, not to let any of those warning lights go on, which is, I'm so sorry to myself that I had to learn it the hard way.
What was the breaking point that you just went, okay, now I actually do need to take care of myself?
I went on it. I took a year off between Grey and the job that I've been doing for the last couple of years at Fig. You know, I was not in a good place when I left Grey. I was not well, but I just felt, I thought it was stress.
Yeah.
So I went up to this wellness retreat in Mexico and I did, you know, this like cleanse for a month and then, you know, some psychedelics in the jungle and I was
the
like,
Scorpios in your room.
Scorpions and like, you know, yeah, it was amazing. And I came away from that. I felt so good. It was an anti-inflammatory paleo diet, working out every day, yoga every day. I felt so good. I was like, my energy was incredible. I go back to New York and I'm like, reset, you know, I'm me again.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know, back in New York and it's holidays and I'm drinking martini here and there. And then I'm back into my just eating like a 6-year-old, burgers at midnight. Then I go home to Australia for Christmas and the holidays for a couple of months. And I started to, a piece of this that I didn't talk about is like, I've had pretty like heavy menstrual bleeding for 10 years from adenomyosis, endometriosis, fibroids, all these things. And I'd, you know, it's one of those things like every month it's like a little bit worse and then it's a little bit worse. And I'd had a couple of surgeries and tried different things, but it had just even as healthy as I felt after going to this thing in Mexico, I was like, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
So I came back from this trip to Australia and I was heavy. I was like losing a lot of blood and I went and saw my doctor and they were like, what happened? Why am I having a, no, I'm conflating the two. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. I'm conflating two experiences because there were two ER things. So okay.
2 ER. Yeah, that's right. There were.
So
I went home the blood. Yeah.
So I went to Australia, had a lovely time. But while I was there, I started having like waking up in the middle of the night and like having like body aches and pains and things like that. And sweating in the middle of the night. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm going through peri or something like that. Like waking up and like just drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And then I went home to New York and it was still happening. And it was like, now it's the middle of winter and I'm still drenched in sweat in the middle of the night. So, and I had like a pain in my elbow that was now a pain in my wrist and pain in my shoulder. And I was like, everything hurt. So I went and saw my doctor. She was like, you don't look well. And I'm like, excuse me, I just went to Mexico. How dare you, ma'am? And so she took a blood test and I went home to my apartment. And the next day I get this call and the doctor's like, are you somewhere private? It's like, well, that's not great.
Yeah. Yes.
She's like, you've had an abnormal blood test. You need to go to the ER right away. And I was like, well, I'm about to do a call. I was doing a like writing program. I was about to join my class. And so she's like, no. She's like, are you short of breath? And I was like, yes, but I'm out of shape. And she's like, well, are you, and she's like, are you, what is she, are you feeling lightheaded? Are you, and all these things. I'm yes. Are you, I thought, and she's like, have you tightness in your chest? And I was like, yes, but I'm heartbroken. No, I had all these other reasons for the things that she was explaining to me about what was going on in my body. And she's like, no, you need to go. You've had an abnormal blood test. It was my hemoglobin, my red blood count was low. Like a normal level for an adult, for a human, is 15. You know anything about blood?
Yeah.
A low level for a woman when you're menstruating is 12.
Right.
And I was at a 6.1. And
Wow.
she says, if you get into the 5s, you can't live for more than a couple of days. Like you're about to have a heart attack. So I go, okay. And she's like, I need you to walk very slowly to get into a cart, and you need to not expend any energy. And I was like, okay. So I get my keys, and I leave like the dog there, and I leave all my things. I think I'm just going to go get an injection of blood or something like that. She goes, you need to have a blood transfusion. Go to the ER. I don't even know how to go to the hospital. Like I've never, like I said, the Toyota, old Toyota.
Yeah.
So I go to the ER, and I'm calling my friend on the way to Brooklyn Hospital, and my friend is like, don't go to Brooklyn Hospital, go to Manhattan. And I was like, it's fine, I'm almost there. And anyway, you do not want to go to Brooklyn Hospital ER. That is a very good advice that my friend gave me.
Yeah. But you did.
It's a war zone of horror.
Yeah,
so
okay, good.
It takes, and so 36 hours later, I've had 2 bags of blood in my arm. I'm sitting under fluorescent lights in a corridor in a cot where there's like, people in all kinds of strife wandering around my bed. And I was like, this is a rock bottom.
Yeah.
I'm unemployed. I'm 46 years old. I've got who knows whose blood is in me.
I know. I think we had a joke about, can we actually just go and audition people to see what blood type they are and what they do.
I'm ready to adopt a
blood donor.
boy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not good.
No.
Like I've got myself, okay. But also at the time I realized this is also a gift because I have time to figure this out.
Yes.
I have incredible health insurance. I have,
the means
and
to be
time.
able to do it. Yeah, that's it.
So that was it. That was a moment where I was like, okay, I gotta.
Yeah, so sitting in their Brooklyn hospital was like, this is it.
I
think you had worked so much. Like literally you put work as your number one priority all the time.
Yeah.
Like it always was your number one priority.
Yeah, to the point where I had a series of, a husband and then a fiance and then another relationship with people who were at my work. So like it made it very convenient to have, work be the central relationship and these other people kind of witnessing me and validating me in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, I was unconscious to it, but
but I'm sure now that you've taken a step back from that, you can see that and go, yeah, work was literally where I filled my cup for everything.
Yeah. It's also, I think about advertising as, I was a creative kid.
Yeah.
But I also came up in a really blue collar family. And then I think I look around advertising, a lot of people came from not like wealthy middle class families, but like people who needed security while they also wanted to be creative.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of affection and empathy and compassion for myself as needing that. Like I needed to have a creative life, and it was a way to live a creative life, but also have,
security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I try not to beat myself up about the fact that I put it first, because I think I always put my creativity first.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you look at it like it was about your creativity and expressing your creativity rather than it just all being about work, it's definitely a good way of looking at it. But I think now that's even shifted again, and you yourself are the thing that you are prioritizing now.
Yeah. Or what I allow it to be has to be more energizing.
Yeah.
It can't take more than it gives.
And I think that's a great thing. It can't take more than it gives, because otherwise you just end up depleted.
Yeah.
Or in Brooklyn Hospital.
Which
with someone else's
I did end up
blood
there again a year later, but I didn't learn a lesson straight away. But she's getting it.
And So this next one, I mean, I know we've spoken about this personally, but you know, you nearly being in your 50s, nearly,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole societal pressure of kids or no kids.
Yeah.
You've had, you know, there've been a lot of comments or even just judgments on you not having kids.
Mm-hmm.
How have you managed that, you know, internally?
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know whether it's made peace is the right word, but how have you, you know, backed your choices?
You know, I think the greatest gift my mum ever gave me was she was the one who said, don't do it. And it took all of the pressure away because, you know, the people pleaser in me would have done, if they wanted me to have kids, my parents said to me that they thought that would be a good, like I'd miss out on something if I didn't have them. I would have always felt like it was important to do it. But my mum, when I was in my 20s, I think she might have even been a little bit drunk.
Yeah.
She's like, don't do it. She didn't even smoke, but this is me. This is my impression of her. Like, don't do it. She goes, live your life. And so honestly, it was a huge gift to me.
Yeah.
And back to the pressure and the criticism, something I learned recently is you'll only take internalized criticism from someone else as much as you believe it to be true. And so I think there was a period maybe in my most fertile years where I felt like some internal judgment about not doing it, like a sort of selfishness or a sort of or a fear that I was going to miss out on something, you know, profound or
like washing a shitload of clothes or picking up after them constantly.
Yeah. Or, but like, what am I going to do everything live for myself? Like, how selfish am I not to do this?
Yeah.
And where am I going to get my meaning from?
Yeah.
You know? But as I've gotten older, I've got past that window. I have absolutely no self judgment about it. I feel like it was a really good decision for me.
Yeah.
And I have amazing relationships with kids that in my life.
Yeah.
And
like, I think Hallie would come and live with you in New York tomorrow.
They're all coming.
Yeah.
They're all coming.
They're all coming to London now rather than New York.
And I just have a lot of joy around them. I think I was at the time, and, you know, I've been in relationships with people who I could see they were going to be a great parent.
Yeah.
And I know that they've, you know, exes that are great parents. But I didn't believe and trust that they would be a great partner to me in their parenting. And so I knew there was something about honoring myself and taking care of myself that helped me make that decision and be really kind of, you know, and really own it. But I've also been moments, you meet a great kid and you're like, oh, God, it would have been cool to have one of those.
Yeah.
And
come back.
Yeah, no, but I don't know. I'm also having a great time. So I think it's good to there's so many different ways that you can live your life as a woman. And there's probably not enough examples of happy, self-assured, you know, kind of relaxed, powerful women in culture that don't have kids and aren't like grappling with this question. And so I'm happy to talk about it because I'm genuinely happy in my life.
Yeah. And you know what? You are when I saw you today, literally like an hour ago, it was the best that I have seen you looking in I don't even know how many years. And it's, you know, just telling that you just seem yourself.
Yeah, it's really true. I'm honestly like really in a very relaxed, happy place in my life.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, it's
because
hard
you
earned.
wouldn't be with no.
Yeah.
No, you know what? It is hard earned, but you have the thing that I love is that you have spent the time working on you and understanding you. You haven't hidden from it. You haven't, you know, that year that you had off, you actually did that work so that you wouldn't fall into those same work patterns, find the relationship, work too much, you know, forget everything and just get back into that. You know, it's amazing to see the difference in where you were versus, you know, where you are now.
Yeah, thank you.
Even from last year, like
Yeah.
you look at where you were last year to now, like it's an amazing difference.
Yeah. And I don't know what happened in that time that I think I've gotten like, you know, like we talked about before about leadership. I've just gotten comfortable in it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm single. I was, as you know, because we've been friends for a really long time, relationship to relationship to relationship. Like, you know, I barely had any time off between, you know, relationships that I've been in, job to job to job, barely had, you know, more than 2 weeks off in my whole career. And I've been single for the last few years. And at the beginning it was very uncomfortable, deeply kind of codependent tendencies, really needed to have somebody there validating me in my domestic life and the same person validating me in my work life. I needed that mirror. And I have learned to be the mirror to myself. And that's all that I need. You know, like that, like you said, the reflection, the time that I took in that year to like really sit with all this shit about myself, like really kind of like get comfortable with it and kind of fall in love with myself and and like have so much compassion for the ways that I was and the decisions that I made and even the stuff that's like so awful and painful and hurtful, like kind of getting okay with that and being like, you know, I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. And I'm, you know.
And you actually seem at peace with it. Like, which is, you know, we were talking about it before, just being able to let it be or just be comfortable and not taking it on.
Yeah.
And it is like, that is, I think, the biggest difference in you this time round when I've seen you is you are calm.
Yeah.
You are just calm. You're calm in your decisions. You're calm in the way that you are.
Straight off the plane.
No makeup.
Hair looks like an old rat.
No, it doesn't. It looks amazing. Yeah.
This is like the level of comfort that I must have right now. The fact that I'm wearing jeans and an old T-shirt and you're filming me. Yeah.
Hilarious. Now that like we're talking a lot about doing life the way that we our way, and that idea means different things to different people. What does that look like for you now and heading towards you getting to 50?
You know, I think it's always been about. We talked about this in the car, so I wish we'd been able to record some of the car conversation on the way over here.
It's amazing.
But freedom has always been, I don't know why. I think, again, it's the oldest child with parents that were like super, like I felt like they were incredibly strict, a lot of surveillance, not really a lot of freedom. And like as soon as I could, I wasn't allowed to, you know, the teens in our teen years where you're sort of, you know, hormonally wired to sort of separate from the pack. That wasn't available to me. So, you know, my family, we socialized with family and I was in the pack. I was like forced to stay in the pack. So freedom has always been a very important value to me.
Freedom is a big one.
Yeah. And so freedom, everything I've been, you know, in my career, seeking kind of these different positions and financially in different, like getting myself into a position where I'm not stuck anywhere, you know, and I'm not forced to do something I don't want to be doing. I'm not forced, you know, I'm not trapped.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm at a point now where I'm not even accountable to a partner.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm about to take this job. It's in London, and we were saying before, I'm going to put all my stuff in storage, and I'm going to live out of a bag for a year and just see where I'm going to want to live.
See, that
try
would just
a few different places and
be amazing. And I think we talked about freedom, but we also talked about simplicity and like just simplifying and getting rid of the stuff. Like I think the pearl of wisdom that you said was, I'm going to go through everything in my apartment, and if I look at it and ask myself, would I buy this today? and I say no, I'm going to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
And it inspired me to go through my house.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of crap in my house. Like there's way too much.
You've got the biggest house in the world.
No, it's not.
And it's full of things.
It's not the
Yes,
biggest.
she does.
But it is.
Listener, viewer, she does.
It is not. But I am going to go through my house and go, would I buy this again? And then just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except the problem is
You've got a husband that loves it. He would buy everything again.
And also I feel so bad because I'll have to recycle everything that will stay under my stairs in these recycling packets.
Okay.
But that's what I'm going to do. I loved it. Like the freedom and the simplicity, because it's just like we just all accumulate this stuff. Yeah. And it's just stuff that weighs you down.
Well, you end up taking care of it, you know,
Yeah.
like we were saying before, like you end up, your job now is to sort of maintain all the stuff and clean all the stuff and get it fixed. And I don't know, that's not freedom to me.
That's definitely not freedom.
I've realized like the only thing that's really stopping me from being fully free is like, I've got an apartment in New York back there with all my things in it. I've got to think about what I'm going to do with it all, you know.
I think the other thing, and I don't know about you, but the fires in LA really hit me because there were so many people who had accumulated all of this stuff that they loved, that they maintained, that they looked after, and it was literally gone within seconds, and they couldn't do anything about it. And, you know, I thought it's like absolutely devastating, but also how freeing being able to start from scratch without the baggage of everything that you've accumulated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're in a point in your life where home is really is crucial to, you know, you're emotionally where you are. Like, there's been times in my life where I'm like, it really matters that my home feels like a sanctuary, and it depends what's going on in life, like different pressures and things like that. But if you're feeling powerful and relaxed, and it doesn't matter so much what the physical environment is, then But I think and there have been times in my life where that would have been traumatic and absolutely not something I could cope with.
But I think it is, you do get to the point though where you go, okay, what do I actually need right now? And, you know, when you're approaching 50, this is when you do start asking those questions. How can I be a bit freer? How can I simplify things? How can I actually have the time to do the stuff that I want to be doing?
Yeah.
Rather than maintaining stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway. It's a big thing. So the industry and the advertising industry that we've grown up in is full on. It is very negative because we get no so often. Like so often we present ideas and it's no, 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 no. Looking back, what's been the best strategy for managing stress and staying grounded?
For me, it would be appreciating the no for what it is, actually being okay, being not having a narrative that the no is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Right. And so we talked about this before. All pain, I've realized all pain comes from wishing against reality. And in me, and I and when I can see the situation and as having value in itself, then I can flow with it, right?
Yeah.
And an example would be probably the best piece of work I ever made was, I don't know, 12 years ago. I was at Whitney Kennedy. I made a Super Bowl. No, sorry, I want to go back. Probably the best piece of work I ever did was 12 years ago. Whitney Kennedy. I made with friends, with a team, campaign for Old Spice, Mom Song, and it was like really famous and did really well. And I've talked about this with my teams ever since, because we got briefed on that in January. Couldn't even tell you how many rounds after rounds after rounds of creative development we were in. We were, I think, in our third batch of research, like campaigns that got killed in research. before that spot was written and we made it, we shot it in September of that year. We were in post through the end of the year. It shipped in December. And it's a great story of, because all the other scripts that we wrote, which we thought were great and could have been good, would have got made. And what they did was they helped us write a way better thing. And all the experience and the learning that we had, all those failures and all those disappointments led to the best thing I have probably ever been involved in. And so it's just a really good example to me that I share with people. It's like, you don't know, this no might actually be leading to a better yes. And often it does, you know, and we wouldn't have got this bigger client if that smaller client hadn't said no to us. We might have not had this Super Bowl opportunity if this other thing was, you know, taking up our time.
Yeah.
And so I just always feel like there's a better whenever I get a no, it means something if I'm looking, there's something bigger that's better coming.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Can you just touch on the pain reference? The pain, what did you say? Pain is a reflection.
All pain comes from wishing against reality.
Yes.
And we have a narrative that this thing that's happening shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
This person shouldn't be talking to me like this. That client shouldn't have said no. This budget shouldn't have been halved.
This friend shouldn't have been annoying.
Yeah. Yes. My husband shouldn't be insisting on this, you know. And if you can just embrace, take that narrative out of it and embrace the challenge or the sort of thing that you're being given, the challenge that you're being given as the gift and as the thing that's supposed to happen, and welcome it and go like, what is going to happen through me from this thing that I wasn't expecting? You can do it with joy. You can handle it with joy.
Yeah.
But I think it's like when you've got an energy of like, it shouldn't be happening and you're angry, which is really fear because you don't know how to handle the situation. And you know, and like just ease into it and be like, okay, I love this weird turn of events.
Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah. And I think it's all just that mind shift.
Yeah.
You know, you just need to try and look at the things you can control rather than the things you can't.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start to focus on that, it does help to spark that joy and start to, you know, push you in a different direction.
Yeah. That's right. And just whatever you're dealing with. And stressing about things that aren't going the way that you wanted them to isn't helping anything.
No.
It's all just been creating fear energy in your body.
Yeah.
That everyone else feels it.
Yeah.
Rather than like, you know what, let's roll with this crazy shit.
How do you, when the going gets tough, stay in that mindset of, you know, this will be, or that no is getting to a yes?
It helps to have people around you that share like that energy with you, and that you're in agreement that's how we are. Because like then you're, you know, because nature, like we've got, you know, we're wired to sort of, you know, like be looking out for a threat.
Yeah.
So, but having a team of people around you who are committed to joy and committed to this is hilarious and stupid, and holding you to that, I think is really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Joy. I love the word joy. It's one of my favorite words in the world.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in your life and career, what does joy actually mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a good one. I think what it means to me, it's a crucial energy to be in. And I think it's again, it's like something you cultivate through appreciation, through gratitude, through like looking at your life with, you know, thankfulness.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that's hard. And so you can walk around in joy, even when you're in the hardest, you know, stuff that you're going through the hardest stuff of your life.
Yeah.
And it's I'm realizing it more and more as I'm getting older. It's like my health relies on me mostly living in that energy and walking around in that energy and walking around my life with eyes and a heart of appreciation. And it takes, the other thing I realize, if I don't take regular scheduled like breaks from the work that I'm doing all the time. Last year I didn't do it. I worked all the way through, didn't take a vacation. I got to the end of the year and I was like kind of miserable. And I realized I need to schedule breaks and I need to like consciously be cultivating that energy, because I'll just get sucked into the doing if I don't.
Yeah.
So I had a coworker once actually that he did every 10 weeks, he would go 5 days off the grid.
Wow.
So, and he had figured out his rhythms needed, he'd go 10 weeks on really hardcore, 10 weeks on, 5 days off. But if he was doing his 5 days off for like uncontactable.
Wow.
And he was so intentional about using those 5 days, then he'd come back on.
Yeah.
And I think I need to work out what my rhythms are. I guess, or something I'd guess it would be something similar.
Yeah. 10 weeks on, 5 days off.
Yeah.
It's actually a really, really nice way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
How do you stay open to new experiences and personal growth?
I think it's easy for me because I don't have a lot of people dragging on my time.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of responsibilities, and I don't really have a lot of, there's not really a lot of judgment around me, around how I use my personal time. So honestly, it's that like my whole life is about doing whatever the fuck I want at any time and, following. Sorry. Thanks. But it is, I don't know. I think the thing is part of taking this job is also I realize I'm very comfortable in my little bird cage in New York. I'm like I said, I'm on the promenade. I look out at the city and people walking past, and I don't have to leave my house to feel like I'm in the city, but I'm not. I'm very like much an introvert and a homebody too. So this job is like kicking me out into the world. By the way, my lease is up. My landlord won't let me renew or go like month to month. So all of that is a gift.
Yeah,
it's a pain. It's a fucking pain, but it's a gift. It's pushing me out into the world.
Yeah.
And at a time when I need it. So
absolutely.
I'm open, I guess. Yeah.
Which is good. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, knowing everything you do now, what advice would it be?
I wouldn't have been able to hear it, but something along the lines of you're enough. You don't need a husband or a partner telling you that you're enough or validating you. I wish I got really, really comfortable in my own company and in my own skin at a younger age, because I feel like I missed out on so many years of being relaxed.
Also being you as well, I'm sure, because, the early stages of being a people pleaser, you were
striving for something.
Everyone else, like being something for everyone else rather than true to you.
Yeah. And I wish that I'd just been able to understand that a little bit earlier. I think I would have had more years of fun, and I would have had more sort of the self-care angle would have been more prevalent in the beginning. Yeah.
And you and I have been friends through so many different stages of our lives. And what role in general does friendship play to you?
I mean, it's huge because my family is in Queensland.
Yes.
And my life is in New York City. And it's kind of everything. It's my family around the world are the friends that I have around the world.
Yeah.
And that said, I've got a handful of friends in New York. I spend a lot of time with the people that are in my sort of physical, in the village, that are like right there. But
yeah, no, it takes like 4 texts to get a reply.
Well, it's not like you text me at 3 a.m, so you know.
I'm just like, are you there? Are you alive? Hi, what's happening? Have you got any blood?
You need to have my mum on. And she can just talk shit about how bad I am at staying in touch.
No, I'm just like, have we found a good blood donor? Like, what can you send me the photos of them?
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. I'm glad because there's been moments when I've been like, if I died, no one would know that my body was decaying for like weeks. So I appreciate that you check in. But yeah, it's everything. But it's also I'm the sort of person that I might go and not be super present while we're separate. But then when we're together, it's like no time has passed. And I am honestly like that with a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
So the intimacy is I really care about getting in the meat. You know, I don't want to have light conversations with people. So
I know we tried to have like a heavy conversation by text, and then it was like, I'm coming out soon.
I'm coming out.
Let's just talk.
We'll talk about it. Let's talk about it in front of people.
Yeah, a camera.
Let's have 4 cameras on us. Yeah.
I know it's funny, isn't it? Because you do. I was listening to something that said the other day, friendships are really based on one of the key pillars is proximity.
Yeah.
And it is when you are able to pick up the phone, walk next door, go wherever, the friendships are a lot easier to nurture.
Yeah.
But you do have to invest the time to make sure that the ones that you do really care about are there for the long term.
And I will say, you know, obviously I've moved to Portland, now then to New York, and I moved to London. I've been quite scared about because I don't have any close friends in London.
Yeah.
And I'm a little scared about what that is, but I've also realized I've made amazing friends in New York. I've had incredible friends in Portland.
Yeah.
You and Juzzy and I are like as tight as ever. And I will say, I think one of the fears that we have, like moving away, is that we won't have people or we'll lose touch with our old friends.
Yeah.
And it's honestly not true. It's a narrative that maybe stops us from taking these bold leaps. But I can say I've got beautiful, like long, like lifelong friendships that I see, you know, physically we'll see each other, you know, once a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we hang out for like a lot, but it's when you've got those like really strong foundations with people, it means you can fly around and you always come back.
Apparently, there's a study that says that to have deep foundational friendship circles or a relationship with someone, you need 200 hours of FaceTime with them, which I was like, wow, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're living across the world. But, you know, I think because of our history, we've probably had way more than 200 hours.
Yes.
Just in the cup of tea.
The lodger. The lodger's put in way more hours than that.
Absolutely. Okay. So, final question.
Oh,
woo! So it has been amazing and an absolute joy to do this first one with you, both going, what are we doing? We've covered everything, career highs, relationship highs, the learnings of life, and I do really love the pain coming from you looking, you know,
pushing against reality.
Yeah, pushing against reality. Pain is pushing against reality. Like I love that because it 100% is exactly what it is. And for me, the one thing that I'm taking from getting towards 50 is that it isn't about slowing down. It's actually about leaning in, questioning more, making sure you're doing the right things, making sure that you yourself know and are in touch and in love with you as a person, because that's where it does actually come from. And it's all about finding a little bit more joy, a little less stress, and just questioning what the purpose is for you moving forward. And before we wrap up, there's one last question, just one last question. If What would your advice be if you could try something fun, bold, or something that shakes you out of autopilot before I'm 50? What would it be?
I'm going to say take a solo trip.
Ooh.
I don't know why that just came to. I think that would be, like and like a big
decent
one.
Yeah.
Not 4 days. At a day spa.
Yeah.
You'd do that.
No,
but
like
I think
proper.
Traveling solo and going somewhere, being and having like a sort of almost a spiritual experience it's incredibly powerful to see yourself out in the world, without all the responsibilities of taking care of other people, doing everything on your own time.
Yeah.
I think
being,
that is
being able to have the conversations or talk to someone or, just, that's a great one.
Shake yourself out of your comfort zone. Absolutely. Back to what you were just saying before, I think not, in this investigation, what I've taken out of our conversation just now is like the appreciation of the moment you're in is so crucial.
Yeah.
All of this stuff that's happening, all of these things that you're coming into awareness of, you never would have had in your turning 40, turning 30.
Definitely not.
This is fucking beautiful. Like you're all of this stuff of life, all these like relationships and kids and every way that you've seen yourself and all the roles that you've played, like they're just giving you all this wisdom, and you're getting to kind of bring it all together into the next phase of your life. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, it is.
I can't wait to hear all the other conversations you have. And
it's, it's when you go, wow, 50, that's like, is it halfway through my life? It is something that it does make you take stock and go, yeah, I've got to make sure that I am actually living my all and living the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when your time's up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Dal.
It was a pleasure.
Dal. It was lovely to talk
pleasure.
to you. Especially since you've just come off the plane and I just took you away, whipped you to the studio.
Only for you, Dal.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fuck, I'm Nearly 50 is all about embracing this next chapter, finding more joy, shaking things up, and making sure we hit 50 on our terms. Today we've learnt that midlife isn't about slowing down. It's about getting clearer on what really matters. If you love this chat, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, share it with a friend, and keep the conversation going with me on social media. But before we go, take Justine's try that before you're 50 tip, and why don't you book a solo trip? I'm definitely going to be doing it. See where it takes you. Have fun, because fuck, we're nearly 50. But isn't it amazing?